Hi, within this lecture, we're going to focus on handling errors and finish our backdoor and listener once and for all. Actually, we're going to finish our Python 2 version of this backdoor. So let me go back to my listener and run dir. So it now runs perfect. But if I run something like this, a command that does not exist, as you can see, it breaks my code. It gives an error in here and it just stops running in the victim machine. So it gets stuck in my listener as well. And that is actually the last thing I wanted to happen when I deal with backdoors and listeners. Because hackers in the real world have only one chance to make victim double click on this backdoor. Okay? And once they do it, we cannot afford to lose the connection. So we have to make sure that no matter what happens, no matter when we type, no matter what we type, it shouldn't stop working. If I run dirs rather than dir, it shouldn't stop working. Okay? So we're going to surround this thing with try and catch, because we are receiving something in here, and what we receive is the command from the listener. So before we do the self.json.send thing, before we try and execute this command, actually, we're going to see if it works. We're going to try if it works. So if you say try here before if blocks and select everything together and hit tab, it will be under try block. And in here, we're going to say catch, not catch, but accept, sorry. And we're going to accept exception. So it means that whatever error we get here, we're going to do the following. So we are handling a general exception, general error handling in here. So if we do this, what are we going to do? We have to set some command output to alert the listener that we are doing something wrong. So I'm going to make my command output to be error. And of course you have to just delete this command sending thing from here and add it at the end of this file. Okay, I'm going to say command output error in here, and later on I'm going to hit backspace because we want to do this outside of this try block, okay, but inside the while loop. So what are we doing here? We are inside while true loop and we get our command and we try to do this, and if we catch an exception here, we just say the command output is error, and after we are done with try and accept, we are sending this back to Kali machine. So let me save this and go back to Kali, because we're going to change some codes in here as well, because we are starting the listener in here and we are doing a while loop here as well. We have to make sure that this won't break my listener in here as well, because if it breaks, then I lose connection anyway. So I'm going to do the same thing before we do the if checks in here as well. So I'm going to select everything and hit tab, and after that, if we get an error, we're going to accept, okay, accept exception one more time. For any error, we are doing the following, and the following is, of course, having command output as error. So this is the same thing, and we're going to print that command output again, so we know there is something wrong. And to be extra safe, I'm going to do something in here as well. So I'm downloading. When I'm downloading something, I'm getting command output and I'm saving it as a file. And I'm going to check if I get an command output as an error. Because why? Because if I get an error in Windows, what do? If I get an error, I send the command output as error exclamation point. So if error exclamation point is in my command output, then I don't want to do this. So I'm going to say and error not in command output. Okay? Because if it's error, then I don't want to save this thing as a file in my machine. So let me save this and let me clear and start my listener and go back to Windows and let me save one more time to start this backdoor as well. So let's go back and try something wrong. Okay, so if I hit dir, then it's nothing wrong, and if I say James, it says error. And we don't lose the connection, we don't lose the session. It still goes on in here, and it still goes on in there as well. As you can see, it gives an error, but it doesn't stop working. So if I say ipconfig, then I can get the ipconfig in here. So my session continues. So we are now done with our backdoor and listener. So congratulations on your good project. But of course, we are only done with Python 2 version of this software. Within the next lecture, we're going to try and see if it is compatible with Python 3, and if it's not, how we can convert it to be compatible with Python 3.